Alright, YouTube and Twitch, welcome. Today we're going to be doing a level design tutorial in Unity. I'm going to show you my workflow on how I get things done. And if you're curious on my levels, you can stop now and check out my YouTube videos. They'll be up in the top left and right corner. And that just to showcase a little bit of my knowledge. I'm not the best, but I feel like I'm pretty decent at level design. And it's something I really do enjoy. And I hope you enjoy the video and learn something. So first off, we're going to go ahead and set up our area. Well, let's go ahead and download our assets. Here are a list of free assets I use for this design. We have the Medieval Village Demo, the Nature Starter Kit 2, the standard Unity assets, and the Rock and Boulders 2. So we're going to go up to Game Object, we're going to go to 3D Object, and we're going to go to Terrain. We're going to be doing an outside sculpt, like earth sculpting kind of deal. And you're going to want to click on this paintbrush, and you want to go to this drop down menu, and you want to set the height, because if you don't set the height, you won't be able to mold it. So we're going to go ahead and set this to 10. Oops. We're going to set that to 10 and flatten all. So that'll raise this up a little bit more. Okay. And then we're going to go over here while this terrain is selected, and we're going to click on the cog. Now what we do down here, we're going to scroll down to terrain width and terrain length. And we're going to set that, I'm going to do 50. We're going to do a quick 50 by 50 little thing. So 50 by 50. This is good. This is enough. And we're going to highlight that again. And we're going to drop down to raise or lower terrain. Now the reason we flatten the tile to 10 is so we can do this. Right? We want to be able to mold our tile. Okay? And a lot of game designers, they mistakenly keep an area flat. The world's not flat. If you're outside, the world is not flat. Now, if you're going for that look, kind of a simplistic, retro style look, that's all fine. Or if you're inside of a building, that's cool too, because buildings are typically flat, surface you're walking on. But outside, nothing's flat. So we're going to go ahead and mold this out a little bit. Now you can use any other brush. I'm using a couple different ones, and I'm going to lower the brush size. That's way too much. All right. So you see how that's looking pretty bad. You can lower the opacity, and what that does is it lowers the amount that drags it up. So if you just click on that, if you just click on it, left click on the terrain, it'll raise it. If you hold shift, let's go ahead and make like a little river. If you hold shift, or a little lake, and put it down, it creates a divot. So we're gonna go ahead and put let's put a nice divot right here, right in the middle, and now flatten it. And now we got ourselves a little lake. Alright, and I'm going to raise up the edges a little bit more on the sides. Oops, too much. Lower the opacity on that. And we're going to pick a rougher brush. We're going to raise up the edges here. A little bit too much on that side. Raise up the edges. Okay. Alright, that's looking good. We're going to go back to this drop-down menu, and we're going to go to Smooth Height. What Smooth Height does, it takes all these riblets. You see how it's kind of janky right there? We can smooth it out. We can increase the opacity on this if you want to. You just smooth out the land just a little bit, so it's not so bad. You want to raise the opacity a little bit higher on this, just so it doesn't look like crap. And you'll flatten the area, and it just takes all the minor details Gets them down. Now I want to flatten this area a little bit, so we're gonna switch brushes again to raise and lower. See how, at least it shows you. We're gonna stamp this terrain down a little bit more. I'm gonna go back to this brush and just kind of flatten it out. You need flat earthers trigger warning for this vid. Flatten it out, and then we're gonna smooth it. Oop, shit. That's set height. If you mess up and you want your level to go back, you can just do set height, and it'll kind of flatten it back out. Like, see, I didn't want that. You just do set height again, and it'll flatten it back out. But that's not what we want. I'm gonna go back to our brush here, raise the opacity. Oh, still in set height.
I don't care.
Raise and lower terrain. And then we're going to smooth that again. Switch back to our circular brush. Bump that up a lot, and there we go. Alright. Now to paint. You want to go back to this drop-down menu on this brush. Paint texture. Okay. Now for the texture that you want, it's going to be new brush. Oh, excuse me. Edit terrain layers. You're going to create a new layer, and you're going to scroll down until you find your grass texture. Now I believe this is in the standard assets, or it's part of the nature starter kit. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to click on the texture, and then we're just going to paint it just like this. And I like to paint it all. Typically I like to paint it before I even start sculpting it, just so I can get an idea of like what kind of land I want. This is kind of looking like a Mars crater. I haven't seen an area like this ever, so you might tweak that a little bit more. Let's go to smooth height. Let's go to set height, and we'll lower that down. Brush it out again. Make it a little bit flatter. Just a little bit. Let's go ahead and repaint that area. Just go down, paint texture, click on your texture, and paint it up. Now you can change the opacity, and it'll make it go a little bit quicker. Alright, so now we got a little bit of grass, a little bit of dry grass. Let's add a little bit of green in there. Or, yeah, let's go ahead and work on the pond. So we're going to go back up here, edit terrain, create layer. And we're going to look for like a dirty mud type of texture. So we got ground. Let's look at this one. We got ground. And I'll just lower my brush size. And we'll just paint in there. Okay. Nice muddy look. And then we're going to lower the opacity and pick another brush. Perhaps like this will do. And we're just gonna blend. We're gonna blend that in because no place ever looks like that. So we're gonna blend that in. And then we're going to go in and blend it again with the other texture. Let's go ahead and blend that in. And we're going to go in with this texture. Maybe raise the opacity just a little bit more. And blend that. That looks good. Now we can go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and add the water in. You know, makes the level look a little bit prettier. So I'm going to go to my standard assets, which are down here. And we're going to go to environment. And we're going to go to water. Now they have a couple different prefab waters that you can pick from. They have one like this. if it didn't disappear on me. Yep, super huge. This is like a C kind of deal. We're gonna drag that over. We'll just drag it down and bring it over. You got a nice bit of water here. Maybe lower it a little bit more. Got a nice bit of water here. Okay. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add some more grass, get a little bit more greener look. So I'm gonna go here. We're gonna pick textures again, create layer, and look for a nice green grass kind of deal. This looks good. Again, lower, increase the opacity. It's kind of painting some grass. Now, no place in the world is just, I guess it would be just super green, but this place isn't. This is more of a kind of rocky area. And we'll bring in some rocks from the asset store as well. Yo, Grampy back, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream, bud. So we go in and paint all this. Now you see this is more of a rocky area. Now this could be moss, this could be anything, but we're gonna keep it like that. We're gonna add some splotches here and there, even around the water, because the water would be, you know, an area where grass would grow a little bit more. So we can do this, a little bit more grass. Now this is just paint. This isn't the actual grass texture. We go in and add our grass later. This is just for what's underneath. You don't want your level to look just splotchy with grass and just have like a white underground, or the grass not match its area. And this will also tell you what color grass you should put in that area. I bet Bob Ross would make some awesome shit in this if he was alive. Bob Ross in Unity. We got a nice little area. Chilling and killing, I feel you, man. I'm doing a YouTube video. Kind of like a tutorial. I'm a voiceover on YouTube, but I'm also doing it for Twitch as well if anyone wants to come in and check it out. So I like how that looks, but we're going to add a little bit more splotches over here. That looks good. Okay, so we got our area mapped out. Let's add some trees. So we're gonna go to the Paint Trees tab right here. Edit Trees, Add Tree, and then we're gonna look for a tree. You can click on this little circle here. You can drag your tree from the project manager into here, but we're gonna go ahead and click on it because I already know what I want. I'll show you both ways. You do it here, look for your tree. Here's my trees here. So we're gonna go ahead and get this tree. I'm gonna double click that and add it. So that tree is added now. Now I can also bring up my trees here in the project manager. We can go to Nature Starter Kit 2. We can go to Nature, and there we have our trees. So we'll go back over here and click Edit Trees, Add Tree, and we can just drag the tree that we want in there. So let's drag a bush. Now you're talking about W. Drag a bush up in there and add it. So now we got a bush and we have a tree. So we're gonna click back on our paint trees and our terrain, and you can change the brush size. I'm gonna go down to around 10, and you can change the tree density. Now what tree density does, it basically mushes the trees together in a way that's just bunched up, right? So if you want a heavy, dense tree area like this, you would do tree density pretty high. And you can do tree height, and it'll be random. So we'll have different tree heights. different tree heights, randomly, right? I'm gonna set that back down. You can do you can do tree width, you can do color variation, so it has different colors. You see in here how one's darker than the other, taller. This one's super green, but we don't want that right now. We'll set that to about 5, and that works. See how some trees are taller than the others, some are shorter. If you paint trees and you don't want to control Z and get rid of the ones that you made, you can hold shift and left click, and it does the same exact thing, and it gets rid of different amounts of trees. And you can do this with bushes. You can do that with bushes, right? We'll go ahead and place trees. You can also do mass tree placer, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So let's get some trees going. And we're going to use trees to cover the background. I'm just going to get the background covered because I don't want to see the outside, you know what I mean? This is kind of like our own little area. Look at that, nice and pretty. And that white space you see over there, because the level's so small, I can take care of that later. We can either put things there, or I can just extend the level, but we're not going to do that. So, now that we have trees, let's put some bushes. Now what this is going to do is kind of fill some of that space up. Kind of like how we have in here. Put a bunch of bushes around. A bunch of foliage. See, now we got a little bush area. Put some more over here, because it's the area we're going to be looking at. Maybe. Get rid of some of those. Put a little bit more right there. A little bit right there. So that's too much. You don't want it leading into the water. So now we got a little area. And now we got rocks. So we'll click on the rocks. I like to go just to the prefabs and just add some rocks around here. Maybe one over here, a big one. We'll add some smaller ones around it. Change the rotation a bit. You don't want floating rocks, so make sure you get the angles right. You can sink them into the ground. Get some smaller ones going. I like that.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you copying me or?
Both.
Okay.
I like that. She working that back. I don't know how to add slow motion for me. Slow motion.
Oh, the hotkeys to turn and rotate, so it's basically just QWERTY on the keyboard. Q, W, E, R, and T. I don't use T that much, but Q, W, and E. Q would just be like object select. W would be to move on the different axes, and E would be the rotation. What you're accessing is over here. It's the objects transform in the world. Now you can do this manually with your mouse and keyboard, or you can just do it by eye. And I do a lot of things by eye, just from years of drawing and whatnot. I mean that is my that's probably what I would do anyways. But yeah. Anyways, we just add a bunch of rocks and get everything looking nice and pretty. I might actually just move this and have like a little house. So let's do something here. Let's go to our trees and let's just get rid of some trees here. We're gonna get rid of some trees and we're gonna get rid of some grass, and we're gonna import something. I've been wanting to use it, and we're gonna import this. This is the medieval village, and it's pretty detailed. I'm not sure if it'll fit in the world space or not, just because of the trees kind of look low poly and whatnot. But we're gonna put it in. So we're gonna click on this and get our prefab. Go ahead and place our building in here and rotate it.
Alrighty, fuck you then.
And we'll shape the earth around the building. We don't have to too much, but we're going to. So we're going back to our paint tool, and we're going to raise and lower terrain. And we're going to turn that at opacity. And we're going to set something like this. And just kind of bring the land up a little bit. Not too much. Not too much. Click at a time. Look over here. We're going to want to bring it up. We're not going to be viewing the back, but I just want it to look nice and neat. So that's good. Maybe bring our trees back in there. Or some bushes. Just add our bushes. Kind of give it like an overgrown kind of look. And we'll just plop them in the back as well. Just give it that overgrown look. And now we're going to add the grass. Just add a little bit of foliage. So we go into the paint details. It's right next to the paint trees. This is where you add your foliage. And we'll do the same thing. We'll add new brush. No. Oh, excuse me. We'll add, we'll go to edit details and go to add grass texture. And we'll click on here again, detail texture. Again, you can do this from the project manager. So we're going to do it from here. And we're going to add grass. We're going to add two types of grass. We're going to add this grass, and we're going to add another grass. Now these grasses will show up in the world like this. And we'll just put those how we see fit. One's bigger than the other, one's taller. And you can set different color variations from that menu, from that add grass menu. We'll just add little bits of grass all along the world. And again, you can delete it if you don't want some there, like that. I don't want grass there. Brush size. Just add it here. But we don't want it right there. See, I don't like that. Too close to the water. We'll add some of this other grass too.
Am I playing with bots? I feel like I'm playing with bots.
Get it in between. And that's a good level. And we're gonna add one more thing. We're gonna add trees to the background so it doesn't look so flat. We're gonna go back to our maybe a tree and a rock. Nature starter kit. Nature. And let's just add a big tree in here. Let's resize it. And set it back a little bit. See how that looks.
You're so fucking dumb.
Duplicate that, Control D when it's highlighted. And put it back here. We'll duplicate it one more time, Control D, and just kind of cover up these spots over here. Control Z to move it back some. And then we can add a rock. Let's go ahead and get my camera where I want it though. Unity's lagging a little bit for me. Just kind of turn that on the axes.
We're good here. We're good here. We're good here. My team sucks. What's wrong with you? Oh, you want to surrender now? Okay.
Yeah, that looks good. And from that, I'll just add in those rocks I was talking about. And then after that, we're gonna add in our we'll add in a light flare.